talk about will. But first, the husband and wife were chatting amongst themselves, and he said, "You have so much self-control." She said, when you're mad at me, you don't lash out, you just stay calm. How do you do that? And she says, "Well, mostly I just go in and I clean the toilet." And he says, "Well, how does that help you?" She goes, "Well, I use your toothbrush." Oh, no. I love that. So she feels perfectly happy about that. Okay, so we're continuing in our series, Power Up, revisiting the 12 powers as accelerated mind abilities. They are so important to us. We're looking at them so that we can understand the patterning that transforms us from human into more of the divine and more of the divine. Jesus used all 12 powers to make a full complement of Christing in his body. Christing, that's a word that spell check always says. It's not really a word, but Christing his body. In Unity, we teach that each of the 12 disciples represents a spiritual attribute of the divine, which when mastered, moves us closer to our own Christing. And today, we meet Matthew, the disciple Matthew, who is our inner CEO. Did you know you had an inner CEO? He is the governing, directing, executive power within us. The location in the body is in the front forehead. Will, your executive power, is in the right where the conscious mind dwells. Matthew was the tax collector and organizer, the most educated disciple, the wealthiest disciple, and Jesus saw in him an ability to carry out responsibilities in an organized way. And he felt he needed that, he recognized he needed that sense of there's a power of divine order, but who executes, who accomplishes, who carries out all of the responsibilities? He felt it was a quality that he needed to complement his full Christing. Will, overdeveloped, we all recognize as that bossy, obstinate person that always wants their way. You have people like that in your life? I've had some like that. Underdeveloped, Will, the person is wishy-washy. They are indecisive, they're easily influenced, and they lack the ability to focus their energy to shape the events of their lives. That's what Will does for us. Will gives us the ability to discern what we need to do. Balanced will is the ability to choose, the ability to decide, the ability to command and direct what we intend to happen in our lives. So you have this inner CEO that's directing your life, and you listen to it from within. God wants us to develop our will to such an extent that we bring focused intention or focused attention to most of the issues in our daily lives. What does it say here? Direct your focused attention toward what you want to happen in your life. Because I don't know about you, but I can stream through the day just unconscious, not really thinking in any focused way. And that's a relaxing, wonderful time. But if I'm moving in a direction for something in my life, I have to keep nurturing and shepherding, I'd say, shepherding the focus of my attention. I read an article about developing habits, and in it, the woman said, let me tell you, it's kind of an interesting story. I found it very helpful in directing my will. It talks about the different steps that are supportive of moving your intention in a disciplined way. She said, it does not take 21 days to form a new habit. She said, let's start with remember that, 21 days to change a habit? She said, let's start with the mistaken idea that it takes 21 days to form a habit. That's completely untrue. In most cases, it's been debunked by many studies. The truth is that you can now form new habits in just a day or two. And then she goes on to tell the story about how her husband loves Haagen-Dazs caramel cone ice cream. And she says, I rarely buy it because it's $5.99 for a little tiny pint. And she said, I think that is ridiculous. But she saw that it was on sale 2 for 1. So she went to the store and she bought 2, one for herself and one for her husband. And that night after dinner, she pulled it out and she started eating her little pint. And she goes, wow, this is good. It's really good. I mean, really, really good. And so she ate half the pint. I have to confess, I probably would have eaten the whole pint. But anyway, in the story she's telling, she ate half the pint. Put it back in the freezer. The next night, she's thinking about the Haagen-Dazs. She has dinner. After dinner, she goes and gets the remaining pint in her freezer and polishes it off. So the next day, she's thinking, oh, I'm out of that Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and it's still on sale. So I'll go to the store and I'll buy 2 more. And so she brings them home, and after the 4th night in a row of eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream, she thought, maybe I should look at the nutritional value on the label. Because it had become a daily routine that she didn't want to continue. Now let me say, there are limits to our willpower. And we're talking about will as distinguished from willpower. Willpower is that efforting essence in you. Will is putting something in your mind under the direction of spirit. So willpower is highly overrated because don't you find it deteriorates through the day? It's not sustainable versus the will of God. It deteriorates through the day. That's why most of us fall off of our diets in the evening. That's why we don't go to bed on time when we want to. That's what Paul said, the thing that I do, I should do, but I don't, We've been exercising self-control all day, and then later in the day, that 4 o'clock low blood sugar, whatever it is, we give in to whatever provides us release or lets us relax. Friday, I thought, I'll write my sermon, but then I went to the dentist, and then I stopped at the post office, and then I swung in to get an oil change. I dropped my shoes off at the shoe repair guy, and I got home at about 4 o'clock. I didn't write my sermon. It was Netflix and popcorn. I mean, that was it. And some really great wine that Donald had brought me, a Pinot Grigio that I just sipped and enjoyed. It was that relaxation and give in to whatever provides a release or lets you just relax and feel good. So willpower isn't a sustaining thing in us. It takes so much effort. But here's what our friend did with the ice cream. She didn't try to overcome her urge to eat ice cream. She didn't use just sheer willpower. She set her focus, her will, the intention for her life on a higher ideal. She wanted health for her body. She wanted to live her best life. So she began to explore. Will directs wisdom. Will directs understanding. Will directs self-love. How can I not have this urge to eat ice cream every night? And what wisdom dropped in was, well, you like Greek yogurt. So she said, okay. She took herself down to the store to look at her options. She found a yogurt that had a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, not too much sugar, a healthy choice. She bought 5. So you see, she's beginning to think in the realm of the higher intention that she's focusing for herself. Remember, she didn't want the ice cream. It had just become a conditioned response. And now she's using divine will to change, to redirect herself. She bought 5, and that night after dinner, she wasn't thinking about Haagen-Dazs. She was thinking about yogurt. She was excited about it. She was pleased with herself. She had a sense of joy, a sense of happiness. I'm trying something new. I'm doing something good for my life. This is going to be healthy. And can you see the building momentum in her thought process? And that's because throughout the day, she spent time thinking about her new higher ideal, how much better she would feel, and even how great it might taste. And so she sat down to eat it after dinner, and it was good. It was really good. Really good. And so the night after that, second night, she bought 5. She kept with the yogurt. She said, I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't have feelings about the ice cream. She said, I did, but I chose the higher way. I used my will to direct myself to the higher way, and I stayed with the yogurt. She kept doing what she was doing. She redirected her mind to follow the higher ideal. Now, you can call it substitution, you can call it reframing, you can call it anything, but she reached a point where she said she didn't even think about the ice cream, even though she bought it on sale for her husband, and even though she had extra pints in the freezer. She was able to resolve that inside of herself. And that's what will can do for us. It doesn't take this energy. Changing your focus shifts the body and mind's default reaction. When you use will, you take dominion of your thoughts, you take dominion of your feelings, and it activates all the other 11 faculties. So she took dominion of her will to do something better for her life, and wisdom stepped in and said, how about yogurt? Understanding stepped in and said, let's read the nutritional label. Love stepped in, self-love. I want to do this for myself. Strength stepped in and said, I'm strong in the strength of the Lord. I don't have to give in to a cardboard carton filled with stuff, right? So programming our mind with a divine intention means at the end of the day, when we're out of willpower, we still have the strength of spirit, guiding us, protecting us, serving us, loving us. Choose willfulness over willingness. We never want less will. We want an educated will. Don't you love that? We want to educate our will. If we're thinking higher thoughts and using our will to direct our reactions beforehand, we're directing our wisdom, our understanding, our self-love. It all works out. So we want to look for ways to employ our divine will. One way or another, we're using our will, our executive mind power, all day long, all the time. We're making decisions, we're directing, we're responding, we're whatever. We choose the course of action we want to follow, and we can resist it, or we can dedicate our will to God and let it be re-educated to a higher way. I like that option, don't you? Set an intention for your life, effort toward it, or surrender it to God and let God activate everything in you to know what you need to know to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. We're ahead of that. We can hold that on that one. We're not supposed to be subservient to our will. We need it working for us, but always under the direction of the Christ Spirit. So it's this universal, omnipresent energy that drops ideas into our mind, and that becomes a dominant ruling thought in our mind and our body. Our will is the central command center, in charge of, as I said, directing all the 11 other spiritual faculties. And we do what we can to use our thoughts, use our feelings, use our talents, use our gifts mindfully, but we also cooperate with Spirit, believing that there are synchronicities and possibilities of which our human mind cannot conceive. That's a surrender, isn't it? I love that idea. We do what we can. We do what we can. I'm envisioning, my second hole-in-one. And I do what I can to visualize it, to lift my weights, to strengthen my arms. I practice my swing. I go to the driving range. I'm doing my part. But I believe there are synchronicities and possibilities that I can't even conceive of how that's going to happen. When I got the first one, I didn't know how it would happen, and it wasn't pretty. As I told you, it slammed into the pole and fell in. It was terrible. It wasn't one of those beautiful arching drives. It was guttered, scraped along the grass, and bam, hit into the thing and fell in. It wasn't anything I could imagine as a synchronicity or possibility, but I'd had it in my mind, the willful idea that other people get a hole-in-one, why not me? I hit that distance, why not me? I hit straight, why not me? I envisioned it rolling up and falling in. I didn't realize it slamming in, but I was doing my part. I was using my time, my talent, my feelings, my thoughts to create that experience. And then Spirit took over. I just surrendered it. And I'm doing that with the second one, which I haven't gotten yet. It's been kind of disappointing. I thought I was better at manifesting it, but anyway. Spirit releases an idea into our minds, and divine will carries it out. It commands love to be loving. It commands strength to be strong. It commands order to get yourself organized. It commands wisdom to make healthy eating choices for yogurt over ice cream. Once you set it in place, it's amazing how it's just natural. You just move with greater ease and peace in life. You think will is just feels stronger than that. But will allows you to relax into the movement, into the agreement, into the flow of Spirit. To develop our will, as I said, we choose willingness over willfulness. We never want less will. We want an educated will. Willingness is always constructive. Willfulness is destructive. Willfulness lacks the courage to depend on God for meeting our needs, right? It's that human self of us that wants to arm wrestle God. I want control. I want to know I want to make this happen, rather than just surrendering and allowing God. Willingness acknowledges the facts, but it moves with that inner CEO. It moves with an inner instruction, and that takes great courage, because sometimes you get an idea that drops in for your life, and you can't see it. You can't imagine it. And yet we're instructed to follow God's will for our lives. When you initially feel something about your life, and you feel it strongly, but you can't see it, it takes courage to follow that path, doesn't it? Remember when you chose your career? Maybe you didn't choose your career, you just fell into it. Remember you were deciding what university to go to, or what instrument to play, or who to marry, or what to name your child, and those things drop in and you can't see them yet. My niece, who had her first baby March 8th, a little girl, on International Women's Day, born on, they had a name picked out, but they said, we want to wait till we see her. We want to wait because maybe that name won't fit her. And so they allowed for the flexibility of love and understanding and compassion and strength to name their child. I was listening to the radio on the way here, and I was listening to this woman talk about, she was seeing a counselor, and she was having a difficult time. She was really frustrated, and she went in for an appointment, and she just was agitated, and he said, well, how's your week going? And she really didn't want to say, because she felt what she wanted to say to him was insignificant. She thought, I shouldn't be so upset about this. But she finally blurted out, it's all the dirty dishes in my sink. I just feel overwhelmed by dishes. I have to scrape them and rinse them and then load the dishwasher. And she said, I just don't have time. I want to be doing more important things. And so the counselor said, well, why don't you run the dishwasher twice? Why scrape the dishes, rinse the dishes, and why not just put them in and let the dishwasher run? And if they're not clean, why not run it a second time? And she had opened herself to find ways to get out from under that burden in frustration, but wisdom led her to the counselor. Courage and strength had her finally say, this isn't insignificant, this is about my life. And then she was led to an idea that would work. I have to confess, I'm one of the people that rinses the dishes before I put them in the dishwasher, because I say the dishwasher isn't a garbage disposal, But guess what? The appliance is made for that. The same thing you're scraping off into your sink is the same system that takes it out of the dishwasher. So load the dishwasher. You don't need to rinse. Give yourself some extra time. The whole idea is she was frustrated by that. She was seeking a solution, and in her mind, she was led and guided to an option that could work for her. In John chapter 5, verse 30, it says, I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father who has sent me. And that gets us into God's will. What is God's will? And the answer is God's will is always seeking the good, absolute good for all of us. You can become anything when you're willing toward God, or willing toward whatever it is you're trying to create in your life, whether it's an answer to Haagen-Dazs ice cream, or an answer to rinsing dirty dishes in your sink, whether it's an answer to choosing your career or what next step to take, or some concern or challenge that's in your life. When you can become anything when you're willing toward God. And the first big step, and that's that slide I want to see again. I love this guy's first big step, is to correct your thinking in regard to God's will. God's will for us is absolute good. It is vitally important to believe this wholeheartedly. That's the beginning step. Do you believe that God's will for your life is absolute goodness? Not only your life, but all the world, despite all the appearances that are going on. Einstein said the universe is predisposed to be what? Friendly. Friendly to us. All of the universe is embracing us with happiness, moving us in directions that are good. So we have to, the first big step in directing your will into something you want to accomplish for your life is to understand that God's will for you is absolute good. We want to affirm that. I think I have that on a slide there. There it is. Let's put our hands on our hearts and say this with new belief together. God's will for me is more good than I can begin to imagine in my human thinking. That's that line. It's possibilities and synchronicities that my mind can't grasp yet for how this is going to work out in my life. But God's will for me is absolute good, so I know it's going to be the best possible outcome it could be. Secondly, saying not my will but thine be done is not simply a matter of speaking the words, but it is bringing yourself into complete alignment with the spiritual faculties. You know, you think you want to accomplish something. Does it take strength? Does it take love? Does it take power? Then you align yourself with that spiritual faculty, and your will directs your strength, directs your love, directs your faith to accomplish it, to bring all the synchronicities, all the possibilities, all the people, all the places, all the things into alignment. Bring yourself completely into agreement with spiritual ideals so that you are willing to trust God and let God direct your life. That's a big thing. That goes back to that first big step. Are you willing to trust in absolute goodness for you? You can say, well, I have a lot of experiences and a lot of things in my past that didn't look like God was in my life for good. I've had challenges, I've had illness, I've had divorce, I've had bankruptcy. But things happen to us, but it's only important what happens through us. How we hold that ideal, being in alignment with the truth of Spirit. Not my will, but thine be done. This is not a negative sort of a weak worm of the dust. Oh, I'm unworthy and God will run my life and do whatever he wants. No, you're in charge. You have an inner CEO to work in cooperation with Spirit, to take command of your life. It's a positive activity in which we give all power and authority to the indwelling Christ within us. And that indwelling Christ is predisposed to be friendly to you. Isn't that exciting? We train our will to take control and make decisions, not so we can have our own way about everything in our lives, but because we're following a higher way than we can ask or imagine. The Spirit of God will do for you more than you can ask or imagine. And then the last thing we do is we erase the personal, the personality. Emily Cady talks in Lessons in Truth about personality and individuality. The personality is that ego self of us that would use willpower and insist on its way. Individuality is the Christ self in us. And that's following a higher way. I have that slide for us, I think. Follow a higher way. We want to erase the personal, let go of pride and ignorance and selfishness and insistence and willfulness so that the individuality of the Christ Spirit can be lived through us. Your will is the great director of your consciousness. Your will is the great director of your life. No matter how much you understand all the other faculties, all the other spiritual faculties, no matter how much you understand love, your will has to direct love to give it power over anger. Your will has to give permission to strength over intolerance and disagreement. Your will has to give permission to good judgment over irrational impulses. Your will must direct your faith over appearances. Your will must direct the healthy food choices over unhealthy food choices. These abilities are all at your command through your faculty of will. But you have to give the command. That's your inner CEO. I always wanted to be a CEO, didn't you? Take charge of my life. Let's say, I am the CEO of my life. Together, I am the CEO of my life. And if I had time, I'd make those initials CEO for Christ, experience, and opportunity or something. Anyway. You manifest in your life whatever you direct your attention to, whatever you command with spiritual authority. Advancing beyond your intellect alone, using your faculty of will, you learn to be responsive to that still small voice within you. and you become in unison with it so that there's a direct channeling, a direct flow from the infinite intelligence, the infinite organizing principle of the universe flowing in and through you as you into your life for all goodness. And so it is. Let's one last affirmation together. It is the determining, your will is the determining, directing faculty, taking you up, 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 and up. And this, let's affirm this affirmation here together. The guiding power of God's Spirit shows the way and reveals right answers. I think clearly and act effectively. I am directed to the highest and the best outcomes. And so it is. So use that will this week. Find something in your life that you want to set a specific intention toward, and then give your attention to it, like the gal shopping for the ice cream, then the yogurt, and then the 5 options, and then eating one each night, and looking forward to it, and thinking about it through the day. That's how you direct and use your will. So we'll take it into prayer now. And I had my prayers here, but somehow they're gone. So we'll just pray on our own. So let's take a minute and let your mind focus on your center forehead, where the faculty of will is located in the body. Located in your body. Cora Fillmore, in our study of the 12 spiritual faculties, says that Jesus Christ is now here, raising me to his consciousness of will. Remember, he assimilated the 12 faculties into Christing his body so that he physically made the resurrection. And that resurrection energy is still present in the ethers for us today. That overcoming power. It's in you, but not of you. But you cooperate with it through your mind and by willing the intentions for your life. So think about call to mind some concern, a challenge, or some good thing that you want to direct your attention to. Let the faith faculty in the center of your head be activated. Have faith. This thing will be accomplished for you. And see it coming to you in ways, possibilities, synchronicities that you have not yet imagined. But open your imagination. Open your imagination to the infinite possibilities of Christ in you. And then maybe something will come to you immediately, maybe not, but just listen. See yourself as your inner CEO sitting at a magnificent mahogany desk, receiving direction from the Christ of your being, the highest self of you. And then see yourself executing on those ideas. Let love be directed towards self-love and love for others. Know that you are filled with strength to accomplish. I can do all things through the one who strengthens me. Know that zeal and enthusiasm are important in creating your dreams. Feel that tingle at the back of your neck and down your spine, and be excited about the new good that's coming into your life. The absolute good that's promised in the will of God. And drop into your heart and love your life. Love what you're doing. Love who you're with. Love your ability to be loving. And move down your body to the gut that knows, wisdom and good judgment. Accomplishing this new thing in your life. You're using wisdom. Your judgment is sound. It's not willful. It's willing. Move into your navel, just behind the back of your belly button. Order. The infinite organizing principle of spirit is directing, orchestrating, ordering your life, ordering your steps. Moving into the organs of elimination, you let go of any behaviors or any ideas that limit you, any old habits. Let them go. Moving into the life-generating organs, there is new life. You are alive with life. Then we bring it all back up to the top of the head. Will and understanding. The front forehead. I'm willing to do God's will. That will is absolute good. As you think about this new idea for your life, I am willing to do God's will. Together. I am willing to do God's will. I do it joyfully. Together. I do it joyfully. I do it confidently. I do it confidently. I do it in love. I do it in love. And so it is that all of the power of will has been awakened and is active now in you. Relax into knowing that all things are conforming themselves to the perfection of the Christ Spirit within you. All things are conforming themselves to everything that is highest and best for your life. And feel the joy in that. And for this time of remembering and acknowledging that power within us, we give thanks in the name and in the nature of the living Christ Spirit. And together we all say, Amen.